Hello everyone, it is week 10 of our CSA for the season. We have some new items, we have some items that I missed last week because I was away. So we'll go over all of the things that we received in our share this week, how to store them, and possible uses. A couple of quick announcements before we begin. Trisha posted on the Facebook group about the newest challenge, which is our flower art contest. All of the details are on the Facebook group, so just go to that. It's under, I'm pretty sure it's an announcement. So if you just go right to our Facebook group, it appears right on the top. So look at all the details for that new contest, and that's a 2-week contest. Bulk tomatoes are for sale. So our farmers have lots of bulk tomatoes. You can get 5-pound bags this week for $12 each. And then if you want to order more than that, they'll have 25-pound bags for $35 each. And all you need to do is email the farm, and they'll be available next Tuesday and Thursday and the following Tuesday and Thursday. So you need to let them know what day you want pickup and how many boxes you want, and that's through email. The 5-pound bags, all you need to do is go to the farm. They have plenty available. So I picked up a few of the 5-pound bags today. The last thing, well, 2 more announcements. Please make sure that you are not taking the crates home with you. The crates are just for us to carry our produce to our cars, unload at our cars, and then we're to return them. Same thing with the little cardboard boxes that we use for the U-picks that are, I believe, what was in them? Tomatillos we had in them this week, and then we also had potatoes in them. Make sure those all get returned because our farmers reuse them. And then finally, remember to grab some fresh herbs. So there's all of the herb boxes throughout the herb garden and flower gardens, and then as you walk into the fields, they're marked with pink flags. If they have a pink flag on them, they're ready for picking. I know, let's see, I picked thyme, oregano. There was a couple of varieties of basil. There's lots of mint. There's spearmint. There's some edible flowers. I know calendula was there, nasturtium. So those are all available for picking. Just make sure you take a walk around, and if you think you're going to use any of those, take advantage of the fresh herbs that the farm has as well. All right, so we're gonna jump right into this. A quick thank you to Trisha and Tom for covering for me last week. I was at the beach down in Outer Banks, so I actually totally took a break from social media. I tried to pop on a little bit, but I really did just relax for the week. So thanks to them for jumping in and covering the live unboxing for me last Tuesday. We have some new items and some old items, so I'll quickly go through some of the old items. We have salad greens, a 1/2 pound of salad greens. We want this unwashed in the fridge in the plastic, so keep it right in the plastic. Don't wash it until you're ready to use it. If you do wash it and don't use all of it, then make sure you wrap it in a paper towel or a towel so that absorbs the moisture. This is one of the first items you're going to want to use from this week's share. So this won't last all week. This will last a few days. Gets refrigerated, really good in salads, obviously. You can also do, like I've done, fried eggs over top of greens with a little bit of olive oil and vinegar. There's lots of things that work for salads, so this is one of the first items that you want to use. We have squash, a couple different varieties of squash, zucchini, yellow squash. These we want to store in the crisper of the fridge or in a plastic bag on like the bottom shelf of the fridge. These are phenomenal grilled. They're great in stir fries. There's a recipe that I just did a few weeks ago for pickled zucchini or pickled squash. This week I will showcase another way to use the squash. My favorite way is just keeping it simple and slicing it up and grilling it. It just enhances the flavors and it's really good. You can eat it raw, so you can chop it up, throw it on salad, or just eat it with some dips like hummus and things like that, just like you would a cucumber. Great shredded and thrown into baked goods. So I know there's a lot of people that have made zucchini bread, zucchini muffins. I've actually seen a few recipes for zucchini brownies. The zucchini itself adds a lot of moisture to baked goods. So if you don't want to cook with it right now, you can wash it off, shred it, measure it out, and then put it in Ziploc bags and freeze it. It will get mushy when you defrost it, but you'll be able to use it in baked goods. So if you're not ready, if you have an overabundance of zucchini, now that's one way you can use it and preserve it. Okay, so that's our zucchini. We had the option of doing either dill or cilantro. Both herbs need to be stored in the fridge in glasses of water. So dill, we've talked about before. It's great with potatoes. It's great with eggs, egg salad, potato salad. We don't have cucumbers this week, but great in pickling if you still have cucumbers from previous weeks. This dehydrates well, so if you're not going to use it this week, you can throw it in the dehydrator, and it also freezes well. So I've shown you before in previous videos how I put it between layers of paper towels and just throw it right into the freezer, and you don't have to defrost it to use it in recipes. So that's a nice way if you know you're not going to use it all. Cilantro, obviously wonderful in anything tomato related. So salsas, salsa verde, it's really good with eggs, like a scrambled egg. This needs to be stored in the refrigerator as well. Cilantro doesn't dehydrate very well, but it will freeze. It's also good in soups. So if you want to preserve this, it just doesn't, the flavor, if you dehydrate it, doesn't really stay really great. It's better if you freeze it or just use it. I plan on using it for a salsa. All right, so we have eggplant. We've had eggplant before. This guy we want to store in the fridge, wrapped in a towel to keep the moisture away from it because we don't want it to get mushy. Really good grilled, roasted just with some olive oil, salt, pepper. My absolute favorite thing to do with eggplant is eggplant parm. You can cut your slices of eggplant, baste them in egg, do breadcrumbs. I just use a gluten-free breadcrumb mix, and then either bake them, fry them, or air fry them. And then that actually freezes really well. So if you're not ready to do eggplant parm this week and you want to do that, you can just freeze those individual slices between wax paper, and then it can be pulled out when you want to use it. Stored in the fridge with a towel so that the moisture stays away from it. Okay, we had you pick beans. There's 3 varieties. We have the green, the yellow, and I believe the thick ones are Romano. All stored in the fridge, unwashed, in a plastic bag. These are great sauté. They're great raw. You can add to salads. You can quickly blanch them or steam them. There's a bunch of recipes on the blog. They are good cooked slightly so that they're still crispy and then thrown on top of a salad. You can actually pickle them as well. So if you want something different, because we've been getting beans for a few weeks, you can pickle them. We have garlic this week. We've been getting garlic for the past few weeks, but it's been fresh. We're now getting into the cured variety. So you'll notice the color is slightly different. The top is not usable anymore. The outside peels are dry. So this can be stored in a cool, dry place. It doesn't have to go in the fridge anymore. And the only part we're using is the actual cloves of the garlic. And you can use garlic for just about everything. I love adding garlic to almost every dish. It will go in salsas. This will be used in this week's recipe. Add it to sauces and your roasted vegetables. Just pretty much anything. I feel like garlic makes everything better. So we also have a different variety of new potatoes. Because they're new potatoes, they are uncured. So ideally we want to keep them in the fridge. They will last on the counter a little bit as well, but they are an uncured variety. So they're not going to last as long as our cured potatoes. Tons of recipes for these guys on the blog. You can roast them, you can grill them. There's a summer squash and potato. I still can't remember what I called it, but it's a great dish from last year. That looks really pretty. I just posted obviously potato salads are also great, but the recipe from last week, which was potato based, is also on there, herb scalped potato. So that's really good as a side dish. And then you can just roast them and keep them as a side. You can keep it simple. They have a great taste to them. All right. So we also have tomatoes. So tomatoes made their first appearance last week, which I missed their debut for the season, but tomatoes are one of my absolute favorite. We have a couple varieties this week. We have some heirloom tomatoes, some reds. There's a few more left over on the counter. These do not get refrigerated. If you throw them in the fridge, it will change their flavor. So we want to keep these on the counter. Your heirlooms, you should use first. Your reds, use second. They tend to be a little bit harder and will last a little bit longer. And then we also had you pick cherry tomatoes. We could pick 2 quarts this week. These will tend to last your longest. So again, unwashed, on the counter. Wash them when you're going to use them. If you do slice one of the larger tomatoes and don't use the whole thing, then put it in the fridge and use it within a day, typically. The recipe for this week is going to showcase these cherries. Since we got 2 quarts, we were going to focus on them. So hang on to those. That'll be posted on Thursday. Today is Tuesday. That recipe will showcase the cherries, the onions, which my onion is over on the other counter, but we had torpedo onions. The torpedo onions have the stalks still on them. So those they're uncured, we want them in the fridge. And they can be roasted, they can be grilled, they can be used just like you would any other onion, except that they're not gonna, they're uncured, so you don't wanna store them like you would your other onions. You want them in the fridge. So this week's recipe will showcase cherry tomatoes, the torpedo onions, some fresh herbs. We'll highlight a way to use the zucchini or the summer squash, and also the garlic. So stay tuned for that on Thursday. I'm working on that recipe right now. Couple other items, 3 more, I believe. 4 more. So we have tomatillos. So these were new last week. Tomatillos can get stored on the counter or can also get stored in the fridge. They have these husks on them. When you pull the husks off, they tend to be sticky. So when you're ready to you can leave the husks on until you're ready to use them. When you're ready to use them, peel the husks off and rinse them off really good to get that sticky layer off. These can be eaten raw. I like to have them cooked or roasted when I use them. I just don't like the raw flavor. These are great for salsa verde. There's a couple of recipes, I think, on the blog for different sauces or dressings that I've made with tomatillos, but mostly they're grilled and roasted. They're great for like over top of scrambled eggs and things like that if you make a sauce. So those get stored either on the counter or in the fridge. It's completely up to you. I usually store them on the counter initially till I free up some space in my fridge. New this week, we have cubanelle peppers. These are like a sweet variety of peppers. Because they are nice and long and have a thin skin, they're great to stuff. They are great to saute and roast. These would be wonderful if you sauteed these with your onion. The torpedo onions that we got, you can add them to a salsa. So we have a lot of great. We have the tomatoes, the peppers, the onions, the garlic, cilantro. Easy combo to make, to just throw together and make a fresh salsa or pico de gallo. Those get stored in the fridge in the crisper drawer. I think that's it for them. We received a watermelon. So this is our first week of watermelons. This goes into the fridge. We obviously don't eat the rind, we slice it up. You can slice it and serve it just like you would a normal watermelon. You can slice it into chunks. It likely will have seeds. There's all different varieties, red, orange, and yellow, I believe, are the 3 varieties. So when you slice into it and it's a different color than you would normally buy at the grocery store, don't be worried. It should still taste sweet and yummy. I have also, so we typically just eat this normally. I serve it as a side for lunch or a snack with breakfast, or I will blend up the watermelon and make like a slushie with ice and watermelon, just as a cooling refresher for the kids during the summer. Okay, I think last item is our ground cherries. So our ground cherries can be stored either on the counter or in the fridge. So these are in the tomato family. They have husks on the outside. I just posted a photo. This is most people's second week of picking ground cherries. I missed last week, but when you go through the fields of the ground cherry plants, you don't want to really pick off the plants. The plants have green ground cherries. The ripe ones that are this beautiful golden color actually fall to the ground. So they have brown husks, and then when you peel them open, they're a golden color. They fall to the ground when they're ripe. So the easiest way to pick them, don't pick the green ones that are on the plants. Gently lift up the leaves of the plants. Down at the very bottom, you'll see a ton of this colored ground cherry, like with the tan husks. That's what you want to pick. So we were able to pick a quart this week. There are tons of recipes on the blog for these. I think a couple years ago, I did ground cherries 3 ways. So I think there was a dressing, a jam, and then chocolate covered ground cherries, which are beautiful. So if you want to do those, do not remove the husks. You actually use the husks to dip the ground cherry in chocolate. Like Trisha has said, these can just be eaten as is, so you can take off the husks and just munch on them the way they are. They are great in baked goods, so you can bake with them. So I believe it was last year I did a ground cherry tart, ground cherry pies. You can put other fruits in them. Ground cherry tarts, or not tarts, fruit crisps is what I was thinking of. So all of those types of things would create great desserts. You can also put them on top of salads. So do your salad greens, add a little dressing, pop some of these on, maybe with a little onion to cut the sweetness, and that would make a great snack as well. These can be stored on the counter as is. You can store them in the fridge as is, or if you're not going to use them, take off the husks. So remove the husk, just like this, wash them, and put them on a cookie tray. Pop them in the freezer. Once they're frozen, then take them off the cookie tray and throw them into a Ziploc bag. We will likely get an abundance of these, so as you get too many, freeze them. They come in really handy to make baked goods or the jam or the dressing during the winter time or when we don't have them available. So make sure you preserve some throughout the season. They freeze really well. Trisha also mentioned that you can dehydrate these. I think I'm gonna try to dehydrate some of them. I feel like they would be such a good, yummy snack. Maybe some nuts with dehydrated ground cherries. So I'm gonna try that as well. I believe that's it. If you have any questions about storage, what you received in your share, how to use it, the only thing I didn't have in front of me was the torpedo onions, just because that's over on my table, because we're using that in the recipe this week. But everything else should be easy. Oh, the cubanelle peppers, we can eat them raw. I'm not sure I mentioned that. They're a really yummy, sweet snack. So you can slice them up and serve them just as a nice snack. I think that's it. We also had the flowers, pick your own large bouquet of flowers, and we also had the pick your own herbs. So if you picked any herbs, make sure you preserve them depending on what the herbs are, or use them right away. So that's it. I will see you guys all next week.